Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel, guys. We have a big time Chiefs video less than a week away from the start of NFL training camp, and the Chiefs are ready to get started. In this video, I wanted to break down a couple of players that we're gonna need to keep our eye on for the Chiefs going forward. There's a bunch of guys I think could break out for the Chiefs. I mean, they are so much better than they were last season, which is saying so much because they won the Super Bowl last year and are now a better football team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But I wanted to break down some players that I thought could break out. One being Xavier Worthy. Now, I know he's a rookie. I know he hasn't really done much to this point. Obviously, playing in rookie minicamp, dropping some balls here and there, injuring his hamstring in terms of OTAs, minicamp, didn't practice at all. But this is a guy who has insane potential to be a big-time threat down the field, big-time speed option. If he can really, get acclimated here to the NFL, I expect Xavier Worthy to not only be a big-time contributor, but be a X-factor for the Chiefs offense in year one. That speed you cannot teach, okay? I think Xavier Worthy is ready to be a factor, right? Now, another guy I think could really break out, and again, I don't want to say breakout because some of these guys are rookies, but guys that could be really big-time contributors, compared to where people think they could be on the roster, the depth chart. Another guy being Louis Rees-Zammit. Now, obviously, the football experience is not there, but the ability to play football is, right? This is a guy who is a really good pass catcher out the backfield and a really scary playmaker. Might not have that top end speed like an Xavier Worthy, but at the end of the day, this is a guy that you do not want the football in his hands if you're the opposing defense, right? This is a guy that can make big time plays in big time moments, and he has proven that through all of rookie minicamp, all of OTAs, and all of, mandatory minicamp as well. We even saw a guy like Patrick Mahomes come out and say, listen, this guy is different. I haven't seen a guy like him before be able to, adjust to the NFL play style, the speed so quick. And he's a guy I am going to look out for. 23 years old. He is a guy that I really am excited to watch during the preseason, and I think you guys should as well. Competing for a roster spot behind guys like Deneric Prince and Keontae Ingram, I think he overruns them and ends up being a big time player for this team. Maybe not in year one, but down the line, I could see him being really, really massive. Another guy I'm interested in, and this is not really a breakout candidate, but Kadarius Toney. Now, the reason I say Kadarius Toney is because, it might not be his last chance in the NFL, but definitely his last chance here for the Chiefs, right? You bring in Xavier Worthy, you have Hollywood Brown, you still have Rashee Rice, you have Sky Moore and Justin Watson and Justin Ross and Mecole Hardman, Nico Remigio. There's a bunch of wide receiver depth in this football team right now. And if Kadarius Toney doesn't at least start off training camp at a solid rate, at a solid level, I could see them maybe even moving on from him before the season begins. So that is definitely something we need to see. Can he stay healthy? Can he catch the football? I don't really know. Now, before we get any further into the video, comment down below a player or two players that you are most excited to see, whether it be an Xavier Worthy, whether it be a Patrick Mahomes or a Jared Wiley or whoever it may be. Comment down below who you're most excited to see throughout training camp and preseason. Hit the like button. Also, subscribe if you're new, guys. We're going to be covering the Chiefs throughout the entirety of the offseason, all of training camp, all of preseason, regular season. We're going to be breaking down film, so make sure you guys join the family if you haven't already done so. Now, another player I'm very, very excited to see is actually Nazeeh Johnson. When you look at the Chiefs depth chart right now, there's a couple of DBs who look like they could step up and replace a guy like L'Jarius Sneed, right? Now, you have Nazeeh Johnson, you have Chamari Connor, you have Trent McDuffie, and you have Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. So there's like 5 guys here that I really like in this DB room, but which one of those guys are really going to step up and cement themselves, right? Solidify themselves as a top-end corner on this football team? And that's probably the biggest question for me. I think so far this offseason, Nazeeh Johnson has been a guy who, started to compete for a starting spot last year, before suffering that torn ACL, and has kind of picked up right where he left off before having that injury. He's a guy that may not be projected to be a day one starter right now, but Steve Spagnuolo has been relatively impressed with what he has done off of that injury. So he's just another one of those guys that I think is going to rotate in early during training camp and mini camp and really try to solidify himself and position himself to potentially even be a day one starter for their football team going into next season. And that's also another question I wanted to pose for you guys. Who do you think the top 3 cornerbacks on this team is going to be? Because that's one of the biggest question marks for their team this season, is that DB room. Also, they really like Jaden Hicks, so don't be too surprised if he actually comes out and makes a name for himself. All right, another guy on my list here was, so Kingsley, the 2nd round pick this year, the left tackle. I'm not going to try to butcher that last name, but Kingsley, we all know him. I think this dude could be a starter at left tackle. I really do. What he showed at college and then what he showed during mandatory minicamp in OTAs and rookie minicamp, I didn't really expect from him. And I think he's got insane potential, which is why they drafted him in the 2nd round. But again, you look at what he can bring as a player, alongside Wanya Morris and alongside Godric. Those guys are going to really be competing for that starting job right now. But in my opinion, after training camp, I think a spot has really opened up, and I think he is going to, kind of take the keys and run with it, right? So we'll see what happens in terms of him. I'm trying to look at my list here. Jared Wiley. So Jared Wiley's interesting in my opinion because I don't think he's going to get too much playing time year 1. But what happens after year 1 is going to be really reliant on what happens this summer, right? This season. Can he start to show flashes? Can he start to, make a name for himself in this tight end room behind a Travis Kelce, behind a Noah Gray? There's also Irv Smith, who has a ton of vertical field stretching capabilities. Can he come in here and do those type of things for this football team in year 1? I think he can, but Willie is probably the biggest question mark. Now, there's also 2 more guys on my list, and they're both wide receivers. Now, the reason I bring them up is Sky Moore and Nico Remigio. Someone's going to have to step up as that wide receiver 4 for this football team. Right now, I think it's going to be Justin Watson, but Sky Moore, again, very similar to Kadarius Toney, where this could be your last effort to really come out here and be a player, man. Had an opportunity last year, did not really do well with it. Can he do it this season? Again, not really too sure. But this is where I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below. Who do you think is going to be their biggest breakout candidate this season in 2024? Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, join the family. More of these videos throughout the next couple of weeks here. And once training camp starts, man, we're going to ramp up videos every single day, keeping you guys updated. So make sure you guys join the family if you haven't already done so. Hit the like button, subscribe. Again, it's free. Doesn't cost anything to join the family. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next Chiefs update very, very soon. Peace.